Hello and welcome to the first edition of the Purple Sofa podcast, proudly presented by 360 Chartered Accountants. I'm Andy Steele, I'm one of the directors at 360, and today I'm joined by...
Hi, I'm Sean Maloney. I'm the Associate Director at 360, Andy Steele's cohort, so welcome everybody. Trying to decide whether I'm nervous or excited, but we'll see how we get on.
I'm a bit of both. It's like the blind leading the blind, isn't it? Which leads nicely on to our guest today. Our original guest unfortunately let us down last minute, so we decided we needed to find someone who was intelligent, bright, handsome, a great ambassador for the city, someone who would be, really interesting to join us on our first podcast. Unfortunately, we couldn't find anyone that fit that bill, so instead we've got Pete Mills from Hull Kingston Radio.
Thank you, Andy. I was about to write the check out for that. The programme director of Hull Kingston Radio. I'm Pete Mills.
So just let me paint the picture. The three of us are sat in the reception at 360 Chartered Accountants. Me and Sean are sprawled on the purple sofa, the most famous sofa in the world, I hasten to add. Have you ever sat on the sofa, Pete?
No, I'm not allowed to. I've got to sit cross-legged on the floor.
It's legendary, our purple sofa. We've had lots of people sit in it over the years. Lots of sports celebrities, lots of famous people. We've even had dogs on it. We've had people taking selfies. And we're there now, ready to present our very first podcast. Now, I am, of course, lying. We're not sat on the purple sofa. Pete has very kindly lent us his studio at Hull Kingston Radio, and what a fantastic studio it is, Pete. You've been here since February?
Since February, yeah. I mean, we had a bit of trouble getting the partitions in, so we're all equally distant, COVID safe and everything like that in the studio.
We are. It's very modern. It's full of tech. It's very black. Is black your favourite colour?
It's one of the favourite colours. It's the cheapest one that we could get. The actual soundproofing foam is expensive, so you take what you can get.
I just feel rock and roll, Andy. I think that's all we need to say. Is it feels like rock and roll.
Yeah, we're all sat here talking into big mics. Not the usual sort of thing us accountants get up to. So I'm very, very excited about today. Got lots of things to get through. We're going to start off by talking about some tax news, business news, things that affect businesses, not just in Hull, but nationally. We're then going to have a bit of a fun quiz. I'll be the quiz master. Pete and Sean are going to be taking part, and there's a nice prize for the winner. We're then going to be talking about Hull for 10 minutes, so what's going on in Hull. We're going to have a little game for 10 minutes, which I'm looking forward to. Pete and Sean have got their masks ready.
Don't like the sound of that.
I don't like the sound. No, there was a mention of a blindfold, and that normally means you're going to get shot. So
I said mask, didn't I? I meant blindfold.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
10-minute slot on grassroots sport, something that everybody in this room is very passionate about, I know. And then we're going to have 10 minutes chatting to Pete, talking about the great work that Hull Kingston Radio have been doing during the pandemic and long before then as well. Then we're going to finish off with Sean doing his grumble of the week.
Oh yeah, I've got a beauty this week. Absolute beauty.
You still red from when you were telling us about it?
I can't believe it, Andy. I'm furious.
Just going to lay down some ground rules. There's a £1 fine for anyone who mentions the C word, which also includes the letters O, V, I and D. Then a £1 fine, and it'll be going to the charity of the listener's choice.
I'm like the Queen. I'm cashless these days.
we do accept all forms.
We've got
of
a swipe. We've got an iSettle card.
You brought it with you.
Well, we're accountants, Pete. What do you reckon?
He's going to do some busking when he's walking back to the office.
I actually feel like breaking into song. Yeah. I reckon.
So we're going to start off with the business and tax news. Most of it's going to be surrounded around the word that I'm not allowed to say, and the various reliefs, etc., most of which are coming to an end in the very near future. So I'm going to start off with furlough. So back on the 1st of August, the government's contribution towards the pay of furloughed staff dropped down to 60%, up to a maximum of £1,875 a month, and the employers had to start topping it up to 80%. Furlough ends 30th of September, unless there's a dramatic U-turn between now and then. So it'll be interesting to see what happens from 1st of October onwards in terms of unemployment levels, etc. But there's also a lot of hope that employing people, particularly in the hospitality, leisure sector, etc., will perhaps come a little bit easier from 1st of October onwards when everybody comes off furlough. Another big scheme that the government introduced at the start of the pandemic was the reduction of VAT down to 5% for businesses in hospitality, hotels, holiday accommodation, and also attractions, your Alton Towers, etc. That dropped down from 20% to 5%. Now that's going back up to 12.5% from the 1st of October, so in sort of 3.5 weeks' time. Are these sectors ready for an increase in VAT? Have they made back the losses that they suffered during the long periods of closure? Many businesses in these sectors are still struggling because they can't find staff. They're having to close because of outbreaks of that disease that shall not be mentioned, etc. And then it goes back up to 20% from the 31st of March 2022. Again, unless there's some dramatic late U-turns from the government, which isn't unheard of recently, but they haven't been doing quite as many recently because I guess they've run out of money. Business rates relief, so businesses in the retail, hospitality, leisure sectors last year didn't have to pay business rates, and they were currently enjoying 66% rates relief up until the 100% rates relief up to the 30th of June, and that's dropped down to 66% relief from 1st of July onwards. And they'll be going back to normal business rates levels from the 1st of April 2022. Again, are these businesses ready to start paying rates? The next relief that's coming to an end is the Self-Employed Income Support Scheme, which helps those that are self-employed. There's been 4 grants to date, and we're currently in the process of self-employed people applying for the 5th grant. It covers the period 1st of May 21 to the 30th of September 21. So like furlough, this scheme is coming to an end at the end of this month, and you've got to apply for it by the 30th of September. So if you haven't yet applied for the 5th grant, you need to do so. It's a lot more strict this time round, isn't it, Sean? It's not as easy to access as the first 4 grants have been.
Yeah, that's correct, Andy. I think the calculations you have to make are also a little bit more onerous than you'd had to do it before, whereas before it was assessments and stuff. You have to really look at your turnover and how much it's dropped. So it has got a bit more complicated in terms of the working out of whether you're eligible or not. So yeah, that's some of the problems we're seeing some of our clients facing.
And accountants or agents can't apply on behalf of the self-employed individual, can they? They've got to do it themselves.
Yeah, that's correct.
Which can cause challenges.
Yeah, I mean, we've been guiding people, but ultimately it's the individual that has to make the claim. And so we just hope that people are getting the well-deserved grants that they need, really, to get them over this hurdle.
So I suppose the good news is that 1st of April this year, the government brought in a new capital allowances super deduction in order to encourage businesses to invest in new plant and machinery, equipment, IT, etc. Now, they've always been able to claim capital allowances on this expenditure, which reduces their tax bills, the corporation tax bills. But this enhanced relief means that for every pound that you invest in any such assets, your tax bill, your corporation tax bill, talking about companies here, drops by 25p, despite the fact the corporation tax rate is only 19%. And we've certainly seen a lot of clients asking about this. A lot of businesses that were thinking about perhaps investing in this equipment in March have perhaps delayed it to April in order to benefit from the extra deduction. And I assume there'll be a lot of activity as we get closer to the end of the scheme, which is March 23. Businesses desperately trying to get money spent and invested so that they'll qualify for the enhanced relief. And we're certainly getting a lot of questions about this, aren't we, Sean?
Yeah, we are. We're getting a lot of people looking at new pieces of kit, obviously to get the tax relief, but also to help them progress the company or grow the company. It's not just spending money just to get taxes. It's they're just spending it for the right reasons. This is just an added benefit of the rather sexy sounding super deduction. It also, one of the other things I think a lot of people don't know is it applies to landlords as well. So you can get more fixture-fitting furniture into your properties as well, which will help landlords as well, which has been a sector that's been not quite as supported as other people during the sea bomb.
Oh, nearly. So do you think super deduction sounds sexy? Is that the sort of thing that floats your boat?
Well, I just think the word super deduction, I mean, they could have called it enhanced capital allowances, but super deduction just sounds a bit more sexy, doesn't it?
It sounds super, doesn't it?
There are a lot of businesses, I hear what you're saying, a lot of businesses furloughed staff and what have you. When that comes to an end, how many businesses are going to be left that are going to be actively viable? Because all of a sudden they're going to get hit with having to pay full wages. We're already hearing about businesses that are struggling to get the raw materials, especially in the building or manufacturing game. And again, it's actually distribution of goods around the country. That's well documented at the moment, isn't it?
Certainly a lot of challenges at the moment, and I don't think anybody believes that the travel industry, for example, is ready to return back to normal on the 1st of October. I think sport, leisure, probably events are starting to return to normal, but we've probably missed the boat for most live events. It's the end of the summer now, so are these event companies going to be able to survive a long winter? Very, very challenging times ahead for many sectors.
Yeah, I agree. We're coming across it all the time. As you rightly said, Pete, materials are scarce, and so are people. There's all the sort of statistics about how many jobs vacancies are out there, yet nobody's picking up these jobs. So that it's just a really strange situation we're in at the moment, I think. Normally it's unemployment, you can't get jobs, but I read something the other day, there's like 1 million vacancies out there which can't be filled, which is unbelievable, really. Which
makes it difficult for the businesses that are trying to find the staff, but it also pushes wages up, doesn't it? And when you've got other prices increasing as a result of supply chain difficulties, Brexit, etc., it's a very, very challenging time for everybody in business.
Yeah,
I think these are the ramifications of that. Quite a lot of people and probably business owners didn't realise what the effects it was going to have, Brexit was going to have. And this is all a direct result of, putting your tick in a box and not realising really the full impact of what you were voting for.
We're getting a little controversial, political like that.
But it's true, though.
It is true.
The tree is bearing fruit as we speak.
I mean, from my point of view, I think the agenda of the Leave agenda, it might have gone on the wrong kind of premise that made people vote on that sort of on that side of the fence. But
supply chain issues don't impact on a lot of people, do they?
No.
They were perhaps thinking about other things when they decided which way to vote. Wow.
Wow. We've gone deep. We've gone deep there.
Should we just end the podcast?
Episode 1, we've gone deep.
Because I'm just looking at the next thing I wanted to talk about, and that's nearly as depressing as well. So we'll do this bit really quickly, and then we'll move on to we'll get it back.
Can we go for a quiz?
We'll get the levels back up with it.
You're going to fill us with joy feelings.
I just wanted to point out that traditionally a lot of business owners have paid themselves via dividend, often complemented with a small salary. And there's many benefits to paying yourself by dividend, the main one being that you avoid national insurance. But you're only allowed to pay dividends if you've got sufficient profit reserves from which to pay those dividends. So if your business has been closed or affected by the C word, you may have needed to either stop your dividends or change them into salary. If you haven't done that, then you really need to be sort of sitting down with your accountant and thinking about the ramifications of that, particularly if you're in a position where, unfortunately, you're having to close your company. I was having a conversation with a business owner last week who isn't a client of 360. He took out a bounce-back loan because his business was unable to trade this time last year. continued taking dividends, decided he wasn't going to reopen the business because of various factors, called in a liquidator, and the first thing the liquidator did was say, well, I need your dividends back, which is a problem if you haven't put those dividends away in savings. And nobody had explained to him the implications of that. So it's not a great situation to be in. So I guess if you're in that position, you need to be sitting down and taking professional advice as a matter of urgency, really.
Just on a point there, Andy, regarding there'll be many business owners that have taken out bounce back loans, and I think the rules and regulations around it are quite clear. You know, they're going to come down and they're going to ask questions. What has your money been spent on? And if it's legitimate business costs, and your business can't continue trading, then the guarantee is 100% guarantee is there from the government. Otherwise, you know, you like the example you quoted, Andy, you're going to have to pay back dividends and stuff like that.
Yeah. So the bounce back loans are guaranteed by the government, but if a company does fail, the owners of the business will be asked questions about how they've run the business. Have they traded whilst knowingly insolvent? Have they paid too much out in dividends? And if they have, then potentially, as I said earlier, they could be made to pay those back in order to make sure that the bank, or ultimately the government, isn't losing out. Mm-hmm. Now, if the people that have taken out bounce back loans have disappeared to another country, that's going to be a challenge. But if they're still based in the UK, then some people are going to be getting knocks on the door.
But I mean, at the end of the day, if a business fails, If somebody's played by the book, played with a straight bat, then there shouldn't be a problem. I mean, that's a fear. You're seeing all these adverts on social media and in the general print media and television about, starting to creep in regarding, have you taken out a director of a company with your bounce back loan?
There's a lot of ambulance chasing firms around encouraging people to fold the company and potentially start up again the next day, which is obviously a very dangerous strategy, particularly if you have done any of the things that I mentioned previously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, this is something that it's not going to be swept under the carpet. This is if that's what people think, it's not going to happen, because the government want, we're all going to have to pay the piper at some point, and so people been closing down companies when, as you've rightly said, Pete, they haven't maybe used that money for legitimate purposes, will be really chased hard. The limited company vehicle normally protects you from anyone coming after your personal assets, but that in this case won't happen, because they can lift what is called lifting the veil of incorporation, because it's essentially fraud. Malfeasance, I think, is the official title, but it's a dangerous game to play, and if someone's done that, then they need to do some serious restitution or thinking about what the implications are of actually closing.
Yeah, you had to intend to start trading again if you took a bounce back loan. The clue's in the name. So anyone who's sort of taken a bounce back loan, bought a Porsche, and then folded the company is going to have some very difficult questions to answer.
We've heard the stories that has.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you go down the pub and like Dave's bought I'm just using Dave as an analogy there. It's not a real person, but he's bought an hot tub and a BMW just to balance up the Porsche BMW sort of like debate, and he's done a runner. I mean that's the thing.
But if you're a legitimate business owner, you've tried to keep your business head above water.
You've taken advice at the correct time,
and then a couple of years down the line, you just realise that you're not economically viable anymore.
Yeah, that's right. Pete, if it's a trading problem and you've done all you can to try and trade and you just haven't worked, then that. You're right. Mm-hmm. That case is very different to someone who's, as Andy said, has not got intention to trade or have been using the funds not quite for what they're meant for. Rightly
so, because we do want to encourage people to be entrepreneurial and take risks, just not take
dangerous risks.
Yeah. So that's it from the business tax news section. part of today's Purple Sofa podcast. And it's today's quiz, which is guess the decade this company was formed in.
Okay.
Right?
Go on then.
So what I've done here is I've selected at random some stereotypical names from particular decades over the last 100 years.
100 years, right.
And I want you to both guess what decade these companies were formed. And I'm going to give a point to... You've got to give different answers for obvious reasons. I'm going to give a point to whoever gets it right. And the one with the most points at the end is going to win a prize. So lend us your pen, please, Sean. So, first stereotypical company name. These are all genuine companies that are still trading. So be kind. 2020 Limited. So, Sean, when do you think 2020 Limited was formed?
I'll go
What
for
decade?
1980.
So you're going for the 80s?
I'll say the 90s because they're entrepreneurial and looking to the future.
So this stereotypical company was formed in March 1988.
Ooh, close that one.
Yeah, I mean, I started in accountancy in 1990, and back then every other company had 2020 in the name. You know, because back then it seemed so far away. 30 years. It was like a lifetime away, and then as you got closer to 20, obviously with a click of a finger, we were almost at 2020, and then you start thinking, are these companies going to keep the name, or you know, if you called 2020 Vision, you know, you're sort of looking forwards, etc. Once you pass 2020, are you now looking backwards? So do they need to change the name?
Yeah, I think in the like an accountancy sort of like found group, or who were called the 2020 group, I think.
So, there's a marketing,
that's the one,
accountancy marketing company, yeah. So Sean's taking an early lead there. Sean's winning 1-0 in the guess the decade the company was formed quiz.
I hope there's not.
I think I've just changed the name.
I hope there's not 100 of these, Andy, is there?
No, there's not.
That's good.
There's about 10. So this one might be a little bit easier. Crypto, and I'm going to let Pete guess first on this occasion. Crypto Analysis Limited.
I would say 2010.
So you're saying the 10s?
The 10s, yeah.
Okay, Sean?
Well, I'll have to go for the 20s, I think.
Yeah, Sean's right, I'm afraid.
Oh, wow.
It was formed in December 2020.
Wow.
I don't know did cryptocurrency exist in
I don't know.
2010?
Don't know, it might, but
It's quite a new thing, isn't it?
yeah.
I think it's been going longer than the 20s, but I think, I'm surprised that... I thought Pete was right, if I was honest. I'd have thought 2019 downwards, that it was about...
Yeah, well, maybe we can Google that later. Right, next one. Red Sky, and this is for Sean. Red Sky Capital Solutions, LLP. Red Sky Thinking.
Ooh, I'm going to go for 1970. That sounds like it's, that sort of era. 1970, I'm going for.
Pete?
Yeah, using a bit of blue sky thinking and being totally
I
holistic.
see what you've done there.
1980s. It's all that modern management gobbledygook, innit?
See, I would have gone with 70s or 80s as well, because again, when I started in 1990, there was all sorts
Is
of
this
companies
1850 you're
with
going to tell us?
with different coloured skies, etc. But no, this company was 2008, so it's the noughties.
All right, okay.
Oh,
So
right,
it was close. Who said 80s?
Me.
Pete.
Yeah, so Pete gets a point for that one. So
Back in the game.
Yeah.
put that one in as a little bit of a curveball.
Oh, right, okay.
I was expecting to find a load of red skies that had been formed in the 80s or the 90s, but I didn't. So maybe they don't like the colour red anymore. Are you enjoying this quiz?
Yeah, I think it's beautiful, Andy.
Is it the best quiz you've done today, Pete?
Yeah, best quiz I've done today, yeah, definitely.
Okay. Next one. Fabry Consultants. Who's first? I've lost track already.
I don't know.
I think it's Pete
It's
first.
me.
Yeah,
Go on
Pete
then.
first.
1990s.
90s? Sean?
Oh, that might be a good shout from Pete. Consultants were kind of on that sort of era. I'll go for... let's go 1960s. I'm going free love.
No, Pete's bang on.
Wow.
November 98.
Back in the game.
Back in the game, yeah.
So again, back in the 90s, loads of companies had names sort of that reflected being solid, metal, steel, that sort of scenario. Did you not see that when you started a couple of years before me, didn't you?
I might have done it. I started at the height of I remember when I started, because we've just been knocked out of the World Cup on penalties by Germany, so it was it's Italian 90.
Oh, 'cause you went to uni, didn't you?
Yeah.
You're slightly older than me, but you went to uni.
Yeah, I did a season at Bird's Eye. If anyone's ever was a student at Bird's Eye, it was 3 beautiful months at Bird's Eye. So
It's funny you should say the England-Germany, because my first day as an apprentice accountant was the day after we lost to Germany on penalties. It was penalties, wasn't it, Italian 90?
Yes.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. So I remember turning up to work, being not 100%. I've got to be honest. I'd been in Beechtree the night before, watching it, and I was a little bit worried. Am I going to be the only person who's got perhaps a tiny little hint of alcohol on the breath? But no, everyone was smashed. You know, everyone had been watching it. I think the whole country watched that game, didn't they?
Yeah, sadly, I think so.
Yeah.
No, it was a good game. Good game.
Yeah.
It was an iconic game. This one. I had to put this one in for obvious reasons. AAA, AA, All Areas Maintenance Limited. So this smacks of trying to get to the top, trying to get to the first page of
companies
Yellow
out,
Pages or Colour Pages.
So
isn't it?
Yellow Pages, I'm going. I think that was the 70s, 1970. I'm going.
Pete.
I was going to go 70s, but I can't kind of sort of say 80s.
Pete's closest. It was the 90s.
Oh well.
Storming into the league.
Yeah.
I guess in the 90s, the Yellow Pages was still really popular, but the internet was just late 90s. Was the internet late 90s?
Yeah.
I guess at that point, websites were just starting to become popular, etc. So I think you'd probably get less AAA, AA, all areas companies, and also there was loads of aardvark. There was an aardvark accountancy. You probably get less of those nowadays.
Armadillo, I think that's the one that springs to mind for me, for the storage people.
So, Sean, after taking a 2-0 lead, you're now losing 3-2.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Talking of England.
Come back, kid.
I better pull my socks up.
Right. Going to throw a couple of curveballs in now. So I got to admit, Pete, Sean's got a bit of an advantage with this one. 360 Accountants Limited. What decade? If you get this wrong, you're sacked. He's having to think about it, isn't he?
I'm not first. I thought Pete was first.
Oh, it's Pete first.
Yeah.
Go on then, Pete.
Well, you just said in 1990 where you started at 360.
No, I started as an apprentice accountant in 1990.
So I would say it's... I'd say the notice. So
Okay.
I'm sure I saw something on your website recently saying you'd celebrated 21 years.
I hope you didn't, because if you did, it's a mistake.
All right, okay.
No,
I'm going
it
for
was
2010.
So Sean's going for the 10s.
Yeah, I'm going
because
for the 10s.
we actually started 1st of February 2010, but the company was formed in September 2009. So Pete gets the point.
By default.
But Sean, you couldn't go for the
I
next.
couldn't go for no.
Whoever set the company, that's good thinking.
It was good thinking, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Visionary, Pete, that's what we like to think. Yeah.
True visionary.
So we've got 4 left. So you basically need to get all these, Sean. So this one's for Sean, and this is actually a lot harder than it sounds. Hull City Tigers Limited.
Oh.
Stop swearing.
I reckon that must
That
be
is the
when...
name of
Mr. Steele, stop swearing.
That is the official name of the company, according to Companies
That's
House.
the name. That's the name change.
We're staying away from.
Blasphemous.
We're staying away from politics, Pete.
I'm going. That's 20. That's the 2010s. I'm sure it is.
So Sean hasn't gone for the obvious. Mm-hmm. Perhaps the obvious answer would be 1904 because that's when the club was formed. But Sean, being an accountant and knowing how companies work, etc., has realised that there's been a few different incarnations of the limited company. So Sean's gone for the 10s, did you say?
Yeah, that's what I've gone for, Andy.
It would have been the same, yeah.
Well, you can't go for the same, so what are you going to say?
No, notice then.
Well, you're right.
Oh,
Yeah.
Mary.
It was
I'm in a mare.
12th of July, 2000. So that'd have been
Wow, I'm stunned on that.
Would have been in charge then.
21 years ago. So was that?
Was that?
Was that Paul Duffin? No, it wouldn't have been Paul Duffin. No, he didn't. Was that Adam Pearson?
It'd been Adam Pearson.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
Adam Pearson. Yeah.
So, yeah. So 21 years old. Who got that then?
That was Pete.
That's me again.
Yeah.
Right. So you definitely need to get these, Sean.
I've lost them, haven't I?
Who's going
I'm going to
first?
take me back home, mate. It's Pete's go first.
In off the back of the net.
Yeah,
deflection
off the
back.
post. You keep getting these off the post, Pete. That's
I
what's
know.
going on here.
Right. So in order to keep this interesting, I'm actually going to change the name of this company slightly because there's a massive clue in the name. So Hull FC Limited.
Oh, they were all Gateshead Sharks for a bit, weren't they? Sorry, all FC fans. Not sorry.
They were.
It was about the same time David Lloyd won it. Was in charge of, I would say, the 80s.
I'll go the 90s. I think it was
Sean's the closest, but he was a long way out, Pete. It's
Was he?
2011.
2011. Wow.
So the company name is actually Hull FC 2011 Limited. So obviously that's why I didn't give you the.
I'm just
the
thinking
full name.
when they changed it back from
So,
Gateshead Thunder Sharks.
so was that 10? Was that only 10 years ago? I don't know.
No, it's more than that.
there's
It was longer than
Maybe
that.
we're all getting older.
I can
aren't
still
we?
remember the signs.
Do you know what?
Super team, not Super League.
maybe I picked the wrong company. I did check it was Adam Pearson. Maybe there's more than one Hull FC.
Okay.
But Hull FC 2011 Limited was formed in 2011, not surprisingly. So we're now 5-3. Need to get this one right, Sean. Hull, who's first?
Sean.
It's me this time.
Right. Hull KR FC, to give them the correct name as that company's house. Hull KR FC Limited. Oh, he's having a right good think here. He's trying to think if there's any songs that involve the year of formation. I think they were actually formed well before this.
Formed well
limited
before.
company
It's when it became a
into
limited
existence, yeah.
company. I'm going to go for the 90s.
The 1990s.
The 1990s.
Pete,
Last 100 years, did you say?
yeah. Have I given you a bit of a clue there?
I would say early 1900s.
You're right. Yeah, 1900s. They were formed 11th September 2005. They've been around for a lot longer than that. That's probably one of the oldest.
Hang on.
Adam, how can I be right?
How can I write? It's 2005. You've just said.
I said early
Did I say
1900s.
2005?
Yeah.
No, 11th September 1905.
Oh right.
That's what I
Okay.
said.
Yeah. You said 2005.
And 360.
Rewound the tape, Pete.
Sorry.
I'm going to go.
Sorry.
We're going to leave that one in.
Yeah,
That's
I've
got to
been-
be left in.
I've basically been smashed here, so you know.
It's got to be one of the oldest companies in Hull, hasn't it?
It's got to be, hasn't it?
Yeah, I'm really surprised about that.
Half of me was thinking that they maybe became a new limited company when Neil Ludgell took over all those years ago, but then I thought,
Well,
no,
they have been through a few. Shall we
changes.
say the word processes?
Yeah.
But they've unlike some other professional sports clubs in the city, they've kept as the same limited company.
Oh, how diplomatic, Andy.
Moving swift, right? So Pete's won, but last one, just for a bit of fun, Smith and Nephew PLC. Obviously, a company that still has a huge presence in Hull. When were they formed? It's just for fun, this. So Pete, when do you reckon?
I'd say PLCs. When did PLC start to come about? Uh,
Yeah, they might have changed from a limited company into
Yeah.
a PLC.
I'm trying to
So
think.
it's when
I would
when
say
they-
the 70s.
Okay, you're going earlier or later, Sean.
I'm going early. I'm going 20s, 1920s.
1937.
Ooh.
17th of Feb 1937. So not quite as old as Hull KR FC Limited, but it'll be their. I guess it'll be their 100th birthday before we know it, depending on whether or not they traded before they were a limited company. So, well done, Pete. You win the prize. It's a very, very special prize. I'll drop your 360 mug off next time I'm driving past.
Oh, thank you.
And there'll be a tea bag in it.
There'll be a tea bag in it?
because we've got some tea bags left, haven't we, Sean?
We've definitely got some tea
We've
bags.
still got about 700 left.
Yeah, 700. So if
from
anybody wants the 360 tea bag, then hit us up. Yeah, we've got plenty of brews.
We did a bit of a PR drive last year where we delivered 360 mugs and a tea bag to a load of businesses around Hull. But when we ordered the tea bags, I think we didn't spot the extra naught on the end, did we? So a basically a big lorry drove up with pallet loads of the stuff. So we might be able to slip 2 tea bags into your 360 mug if you're lucky.
Very, very kind.
Well, maybe we should do 360, Andy. I mean, that might be the done thing.
Yeah, there's probably 360,000 left, to be honest.
That'll last about a week in this place.
So that's the end of the quiz. Well done, Pete.
Thank you very much.
360 Chartered Accountants brings you fresh, forward-thinking heroes of accountancy. This week's episode.
Oh, there's not enough hours in the flipping day. Oh no, my accounts and invoicing are stopping me from running my actual business.
Never fear, madam. 360 Chartered Accountants are here. Let us handle this.
Oh, you're good, aren't you?
Thank you. We're known to be great between the spreadsheets.
Yeah, well, don't get too chuffed with you, Sen. Hey, can I get on with keeping my customers happy now?
Of course you can, madam.
Good. And next time, use the flipping door instead of the window.
Stay tuned to 360 Chartered Accountants, Albion Street, Hull. Heroes of accountancy. Accounts, tax, solid business advice to help you grow. Call Hull 427-360 or visit 360accountants.co.uk.
This section, we're going to talk about Hull and all the exciting things that are going on around us at the moment. I'm going to start off with the Kraken. I'm guessing you two have both seen it. I think I don't know whose idea it was. I'm guessing it was someone at the Maritime Museum, but the whole Kraken thing, the build up to it, the video of the contractor that was doing the excavations at the Maritime Museum, unleashing the Kraken. There was a video of it swimming along the River Hull, and I've been walking through the city centre the last few weeks, and it's just amazing the number of visitors that have been in the city centre looking up at the Kraken. Started off at the Maritime Museum, went down Whitefrigate. It was hanging out at Prince's Quay for a while, then the eggs appeared. I don't think I've seen that many visitors in Hull City Centre probably since City of Culture, which was great to see. Also, loads of people walking around with maps, clearly from out of town. I'm sure they weren't there purely for the Kraken, but it's obviously helped. And it's great to see so many people wandering around, spending money in the city centre. A lot of them were the sort of the older generation with their pastel-coloured jumpers slung over the shoulders, plenty of money to spend. Great to see, and whoever it was that came up with that idea needs to be applauded, really.
Absolutely. I think it's a cracking idea, Andy.
Hey.
Yeah.
Get a pound in the pot.
Your coat's over there.
Yeah, like you say, I think it's been great. It's been great to promote the city. Ever since we've had City of Culture, I think we've done so much to promote the city, to get away from some of the issues that we had in terms of, I was on the wrong end of the worst lists. I just think we're absolutely pushing the city to its fullest, and I love living in Hull. I'm sure we're all Hullophiles, whether that's a word or not. But it's just great to showcase what we've got in the city. And I think it's fantastic, and like you say, well done to whoever's been behind that idea.
Did you see the Kraken?
Yeah. Well, as I say, the first time that I saw it, I thought of calamari because I love Greek food. And there'd been a heck of a lot of calamari there for me, but put it that way. But no, that absolutely inspired idea. Absolutely inspired idea. It's the sort of thing, the city needs to continue its, I wouldn't say renaissance, I think it's surging forward culturally with cultural events. We're in the middle of the Freedom Festival. The top of Beverley Gate, they've got arrivals and departure boards, which, it's births and deaths of people and memorable events that you can add to. And I think that is just, it's like an airport-style departures and arrivals board. It's sort of so ingenious. And it's that ingenuity that has probably been there. It's been always, this cultural ingenuity that's always been there, that maybe accelerated under City of Culture. And we've got the legacy of it, and it's still there. It's always been there. But it's always been underground, and now it's surfaced, and people know about the proper whole culture.
Yeah, great word, Pete. Legacy, and that's what we was challenged to do when we'd won the City of Culture, is create a legacy, and I think we're doing that, and I think we're really pushing ourselves, forward. For me, I thought it was fantastic. The first time I saw it, I'd been to the beer festival at Hull Minster that had opened, so I wasn't quite sure whether I was seeing that or whether I'd had a strong brew at the Minster. But yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, there's a lot of obvious physical legacies from City of Culture. There's the vast amount of money that was spent on improving the infrastructure around the city centre. Humber Street was probably on the back of City of Culture. All the money that's been spent at on the art gallery, the theatres, and I suppose the main physical legacy is the amazing arena, the Bonus Arena, which I know we've all been to concerts to see there. It's fantastic having that on your doorstep. And then there's the non-physical legacies which you've alluded to, Sean, which is the fact that art has gone from being underground to mainstream in Hull, and and it's no longer nerdy to go to an art event. It's now cool, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, 20 odd years ago, maybe 30 odd years ago, it wouldn't have been the done thing in Hull, would it?
I think people only went to Ferrens to get their Orangina and a scone, not to see some art. Well, obviously, speaking from personal experience.
Yeah, I mean, the Turner Prize was at the Ferrens Art Gallery, wasn't it? I mean, who would have imagined that 10, 15 years ago? It's amazing.
Exactly. I mean, we've got a vibrant cultural scene. We've got a heap of really talented authors in the city. Cultural organisations that do a lot of stuff in much impoverished and deprived communities that we've got in the city. Let's not forget we've got areas in the city that have multiple indices of deprivation, some of the highest, not just in the UK but in Europe. And if it's done anything since the City of Culture, it has given people a little bit of focus, a little bit of self-belief and self-confidence that Hull isn't as bad as people make out.
Completely agree, Pete. And what's the music scene like at the moment? I know you're big advocates of local music on Hull Kingston Radio.
Well, we've been since we started 6 years ago. 40% of our daytime playlist is local music, and I've got to say the amount of talent in this city is absolutely incredible, and it spans right across the age range. You've got wonderful young up and coming artists like Didier. Songwriting ability is unbelievable. You've got young bands like Brosnan that produce some amazing stuff, and then you've got wonderful solo female singers like Carrie Martin that's got an absolutely fantastic voice. But there's a whole heap of other fantastic artists in this city, and I'm absolutely convinced at some point in the not too distant future, we're going to get ourselves into a situation like we had in Liverpool in the 1960s and the Manchester scene of the late 80s, early 90s. Hull will be that next place. I am absolutely convinced of it. All it will take is one of these artists to break big, and I mean really big, and the floodgates will just open, and the major record labels will be plaguing our artists to sign up for them.
I mean, that's some statement, Pete.
It's going to happen.
When you mentioned it earlier on the recording that you unfortunately deleted, me and Sean nearly fell off our chairs when you said Hull could be bigger than Manchester.
It could be, because it's got that similar sort of vibe to it. I mean, you've got a band called the Gold Needles. They're signed to an American record label, and they're shifting records left, right and centre in America by all accounts, and they've got a really unique sound. We've got a really vibrant local music scene, and we've now got the venues as well that Adelphi's been there since year dot. You've got the Polar Bear reopening, you've got the Bonus Arena, you've got Zebedee's Yard, Welly, another place. So you've got all these venues where they're not exactly huge venues, where the smallish intimate venues where these bands can ply their trade. You've also got a whole heap of recording studios in the city that are producing some really well produced music, and I'm positive. If that's one thing culturally in this city that is going to give us, it's our music scene is going to give us our identity, the same as it did in Manchester and Liverpool.
I really hope you're right, Pete, because that would just be amazing.
Yeah, me too. Going to see live music is a great thing. It's great to hear it on. I was going to say vinyl, and I don't know if that's showing me age, but I'm sure that's making a resurgence.
Making a comeback.
But going to see live music in whatever venue, I think you can't beat it really. So I really hope that's the case. Look forward to it.
What was the last live music you went to see pre the word that shall not be named?
Shall not be named.
I think mine was, talking of Welly, I think the December before it all happened, I saw 808 State at Welly.
808, now there's a band.
Well, they were. I was staggered at how good they were, because they were playing all sorts of different live instruments, and it was so different to what I expected, and it was just a fantastic evening. I had so many cancelled last year. I've actually lost track of which ones have been moved, which ones have been cancelled. But I'm off to see Blondie at the Bonus Arena later this year, which I'm really excited about, because she's been on my bucket list for a while to see her sing.
Yeah, I think my last one was, I think you're right, it's the December before everything kicked off. I went to see Black Kes at the Adelphi. If no one's seen Black Kes, it's an experience, I tell you, it's fun. You'll never have a better night. Fantastic experience to see Black Kes.
Yeah.
Most events at Adelphi are experiences, aren't they?
I think the last artist that I saw would have been probably the Human League in Zeb's Yard and OMD.
I saw Human League at Zebedee's, and I thought it was amazing.
Yeah.
I've seen Human League quite a few times, and they're so good live.
OMD are really good live. Seen them a few times live. They really are good live.
It'd be really good to get back to Zebedee's Yard. I think I saw Primal Scream there, and it was amazing. Yeah. It was an amazing concert.
The Echo and the Bunnymen.
Echo and the Money were the support, but Primal Scream, it was, and as the music floated over a beautiful whole summer night, it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing.
That was a brilliant gig, that.
What's the worst concert you've ever been to?
The worst one? Trying to think, I don't think I've ever been to a really, probably acoustically, it was Delamitri at the City Hall.
Oh, well.
Because they're acoustic, you know how echoey the City Hall is. If they don't get the acoustic right in there, and it was, I don't know if they'd rushed in or whatever with the equipment, but they've not got it right.
I saw Ian Brown at City Hall once, and he wasn't great. I think I'd have probably done a better job.
But yeah, I mean, I saw Simple Minds at the City Hall a good 3 or 4 years back, and they were spot on. They absolutely tore the roof off.
Well, it sounds like we could do a whole podcast on music, but just wrapping up the whole section. Great news about Siemens expanding. Loads of exciting stuff going on at Humber Street. Really, really exciting time to be living, working and playing in Hull.
Absolutely, yep.
Most definitely. It's a good place to be.
Welcome to the next part of the podcast. So, playing a little game now, and we're calling it, imaginatively calling it the taste test quiz. So I've actually bought 6 cakes from Nibble in Hull. They look absolutely amazing. I don't think we'll have time to taste all 6, but what I'm going to do is, well, actually, Sean and Pete are already blindfolded. These COVID masks.
Quid in the jar.
Quid in the jar.
Yeah, I'll put quid in the jar later. These face masks come in very handy when you need them. So they're blindfolded. I'm going to be handing them probably three cakes, and what they've got to do is taste them and try and work out what it is that I've given them. I'm starting off with quite an easy one, in my opinion. It looks absolutely amazing. It's huge. It's covered in, I won't say what it's covered in, but it's covered in amazing stuff. It smells fantastic. I can see it's so moist. Are you getting excited, Jim?
Yeah. So, I was wondering what sort of podcast I've just walked into.
Yeah, I wondered where we were going with that.
Yeah, so did I, yeah.
So
people pay a fortune for this, haven't they?
I'm handing you a plate now, Sean. Put your hand out. Right. Don't drop it. Pete, I know it's a bit hard with you because you've got doing all the technology at the same time, but here's yours.
Cake and the mixing desk don't work.
So,
right, thank you.
So, stick it in your mouth. See if you can work out what it is that I've given. Now, I think this one's really easy. This is quite a simple one compared with the others. It's a very famous cake.
See, I'm not...
Unlike some of the others, it's
bit
not
dry, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
not revolutionary. So
I mean, I don't know. It feels like a bit of walnut. So I'm thinking coffee and walnut.
But coffee.
Oh, my miles out.
A long way out.
Wait a minute.
Well,
Let me
say you're a long way out, unless they've mixed it up a little bit, but it's not. You're going down the wrong lines there.
It's got chocolate in it, hasn't it?
It's got a bit of chocolate on it. Yeah.
Well, hang on, I've got just a little bit of like an almondy thing.
Oh, you beat me to it.
Is it a Bakewell slice?
Yeah. Obviously, the almond, I guess, was the clue. Coffee.
Well, I don't. It tastes like a walnut. I was just trying to think what goes with walnut.
It's a taste of the coffee I gave you earlier.
That might be it, Pete. Yeah, I did have a drink. I didn't cleanse my palate. That's it.
Yeah.
Normally, these tastes, you get like a palate cleanser, don't you?
Well, hopefully the Bakewell tarts cleansed your palate, ready for the next one. So Sean's taken an early lead there. So this next one, I'm not going to describe it too much because the colour might give it away a little bit. This looks so. This is an unusual one, an unusual combination. I know they try to be very innovative at nibble, and it looks like they've certainly succeeded on this occasion. So, Sean, it's on your plate now. Hopefully, no left. Yeah, got it.
Got it.
Pete,
is that the right one?
No.
It's this one then.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Right.
So, what sensations are you feeling?
It's crunchy. I'm not sure about the crunchy bit.
Yeah, well,
when you said like cake, I wasn't expecting crunch.
Well, I guess that's the.
Is that the curveball?
It wouldn't normally be crunchy, but they've obviously mixed it up with something different.
It's not Rocky Road, is it?
No. You're sort of along the right lines with some of it, but not the main element.
I'm getting like a creamy filling, but I'm not quite sure. But from your like little suggestion about colour, I would go something like.
Have I sort of?
So like red velvet cake is probably what I would be saying.
Yeah, I gave too many clues away there, didn't I?
I think that was more.
So
not the taste.
It's actually red velvet, and I actually can't read the next word. And cookie slice, and so it was the cookie that was the crunchy bit.
That was the curve.
I mean, I imagine that the crunchiness works really well with the moist red velvet cake. I'm getting really excited here because. Are
you going to give Nigella Lawson a run with the Christmas adverts?
I'm definitely going to be smashing some of these in when I get home tonight. They look and smell amazing.
Or in the car on the way home.
Yeah, or maybe in the toilet later. I don't know. They look that good.
What, you eat your cakes in the toilet?
Well, I didn't.
Things you learn about.
Things you learn, yeah. That's a new one of me as well, Pete.
I think we need to move on swiftly to the third one. I think this is going to be tough, although part of it I think will be very recognisable. So there's your bit, Sean. There's yours. Don't drop it.
We shouldn't be eating in the studio.
Sorry.
You're going to get me into trouble.
Sean's got a few crumbs on his knee.
I know, episode 1 with broken rules, so many rules already.
Is that the right one I've picked up?
No.
Is it that one?
Yeah.
Oh, this one's interesting. It feels wafery.
Pastry?
Know. Yeah.
Well, wafer's probably, biscuit is going down the right roads.
It's got a really distinctive taste. Is it based on a famous biscuit?
It's arguably.
It tastes like a jammy. Dodger.
It is a jammy Dodger.
Amazing.
It's a Jammy Dodger and Rocky Road combo.
Oh, I like that.
I was going to say it's the most famous biscuit.
I shouldn't, but I like that.
Arguably.
Yeah.
Do you like it?
Oh, yeah.
That's the best.
I was going to
that's
go down
one.
the road of baklava, and then you tasted the biscuit bit in it.
Yeah.
I suppose it has got a similar... I mean, I haven't had any, but it felt like a similar texture to balaclava.
You won't
Baklava.
like that one, Andy. If you
No,
just
it's
leave
terrible.
that with me and
It's
Pete,
terrible.
you won't
It's
like
terrible.
that.
It's terrible. It's horrible taste to it.
So are we saying that the Jammy Dodger Rocky Road was the best one?
Yeah. Is that
Do
is
you
that
agree,
available
Pete?
every day of the week then, Andy? Or what?
I don't know. I don't know if... I mean, I'm guessing they sort of mix it up a little bit. But are we? I think we're suggesting they should do that every day, are we?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Be interesting. I wonder if it's the best seller.
We'll find out. Ask
I
him.
mean, I did, as I said, I did get 6, but we're probably running out of time a little bit.
Yeah,
I'm not-
conveniently run out of time for Andy to take
He's gonna
three whole and 3 half cakes home with him. So
But we also had a caramel and ganache macaroon, which sounds amazing. A Happy Hippo crispy bun, and a raspberry and coconut frangipane. Any of those float your boat?
yeah, all of them.
Apart from the posh names, yeah.
Okay, that's it.
Right, yeah.
Welcome to the next section of the podcast. So, quick session on grassroots sport. Pete, I know you're big fans, supporters, advocates of grassroots sport at Old Kingston Radio. I know you do the coverage of North Ferriby, just to name but one.
Yeah, I mean, we've always sort of like grassroots sports. We've always been pretty much in touch with it. We've not just done the professional teams, commentated on both the rugby teams and been at Wembley with City, even though not inside the ground on Wembley Way. But we've also commentated on Hull United. I can't remember what step they were on the football pyramid, but it was well below where Ferriby are at the time. And I think it was it was kind of like nobody had ever commentated on a team at that level.
It is very unusual.
Yeah, this is one of the days when they played at Craven Park for a while. We also did the first commentary of Hull City ladies whilst they were residing at Ferriby's ground, and of course, you know, we've had this long association with North Ferriby, firstly under Les's stewardship, and then later on when the Allams had it effectively, and then obviously the debacle that was Jamie Waltham owning the club, and thankfully it's in really good hands once more.
Yeah.
Under Les.
You would think that grassroots sport or grassroots football in North Ferriby is in very safe hands at the moment.
Yeah, it is absolutely. I mean, I love. There's an honesty about the football. It's not, you know. I mean, obviously, sort of like supporting Hull City for so many years until the name change shenanigans took place. You tend to sort of like watch. I was never really enamoured with Premier League football. They were falling about all over the place and what have you. The slightest touch of the go over, feigning injury and what have you. And the first thing I ever noticed about commentating on North Ferriby was that when somebody gets clattered, they get clattered.
Yeah.
You know, the referee, when they were in the National League, they'd get players coming down from the Football League, young aspiring football players, and of course they're playing men's football all of a sudden, and they're getting clattered, and they're trying to get appealed to the referee for free kicks and whatever. And this happened a couple of times where the referee just came over, looked at the player rolling about on the floor, and said, "You haven't won your Oscar, get up, lad, and get on with it."
Certainly a very different product to the Premier League side of things.
I think if anyone has ever played Hull Sunday League Division 19, that probably sounds familiar.
No. They're a bit more strict at half time. It's not cans of lager and you know, cigarettes or anything like that, which was a normal done thing.
So I suppose grassroots sport has not been immune to the effects of the word that shall not be mentioned.
That you've already put a pound in the jar for.
Yeah. I think whilst the government tried to get everybody out being healthy during the pandemic, were times where they even stopped kids playing grassroots football, and I know, speaking personally, that my son plays kids Sunday league, and he was sort of homeschooling, not able to see his friends, and the only thing he was really looking forward to each weekend was playing football on a Sunday. Yeah. So when he had that took away from him, rightly or wrongly, I'm not here to express an opinion on that today. That was it really. He had nothing else to look forward to, and football, rugby, whatever sport it is that you play, it's fantastic, not only just for keeping you healthy and teaching you about team sports and discipline, etc., but it's great for your mental health. And I just hope it's able to return to normal as soon as possible. It looks like grassroots football will be back to normal this September. Let's hope it stays that way. And my big concern is, we've talked about furlough ending, we've talked about difficult economic times at the moment. Are there going to be kids that can no longer afford to take part in grassroots sport? Yeah. There's going to be a lot of parents with difficult decisions to make over the next few years, and if they've got a choice to make between buying Billy a pair of rugby boots or putting food on the table, clearly food on the table has to win. And that's one of the reasons why we've set up the 360 Foundation, isn't it, Sean?
Yeah, absolutely, Andy. As you rightly said, we wanted to. It's been on our radar for a while, but what's happened during the C period has really sharpened our minds. To support grassroots sport, particularly from a financial side of it. So, yeah, the foundation was launched on the back of that, and we had our first event last Friday as a golf day, so it was fantastic, and the amount of people that supported it was amazing. Fantastically run by our guys, Jonathan, Stead, Kitty, Weatherhead, Chloe McKinley, and Sam Gibson, who did all the hard graft, and then obviously Brough Golf Club really looked after us. But it was a fantastic day, and we've had glowing reports from everybody who attended, so we're really honoured and privileged that so many people supported it.
It was a brilliant day, wasn't it? I don't know if you saw the stuff we put on social media, Pete, but we had 29 teams, which is brilliant for a very first golf day. 120 players, loads of businesses sponsoring the holes, and it was just such a slick, enjoyable day. Everyone said they had a fantastic time. Still totting up the money, but we've raised loads, which is every single penny of it will get spent. I mean, Sean's just flicking his fingers up now.
Yeah, it looks like we've raised about £12,000, which is absolutely mind-blowing. Yeah,
that's
absolutely amazing.
That's the proceeds. Obviously, we've got to pay for the golf course, etc. out of that. I think Sean's shaking his head. Good job we're not accounting.
Yeah. Who's got the squeaky chair?
That's probably me.
It's probably the cake you're eating.
So we're still adding it all up, but yeah, we've raised loads, and every single penny of it will get spent.
See, this is
grassroots sport.
I mean, when you look at it, I've been involved in grassroots sport from playing Sunday League football when Hull had the largest number of Sunday League actual leagues in the country. I think it was about 22 or 23 leagues. Running teams. Coaching kids teams when I got a bit older, and injury put paid to me running around like a maniac on a football field, and you touched on something there, Andy, that I think it's kind of like it's missed out on it. It's not just the club surviving; it's mum and dad being able to afford the equipment for the kids to take part in sport. The football books. I mean, if your kid decides to play American football or something like that, then the amount of money that you've got to spend equipment-wise to make sure that they have the equipment to enable them to do it can run into hundreds of pounds. It's not cheap.
It's very expensive. I mean, often kits will be sponsored and provided by the club, but are the clubs going to be able to find sponsors in these difficult times? We've mentioned boots, shin pads, etc. Obviously, depending on what sport you're playing. But we've also got travelling. Travelling's not cheap. Not easy, so it all adds up, and if we can just keep one just one child keep him or her playing football, rugby, tennis, whatever it is, then we've done a good job really. But we hope to help many more than just one, clearly.
Yeah, well, we're looking to make further events. Golf Day hopefully will be an annual one. But further events, as Andy said, we've done it to make a difference, and if that difference is someone can carry on playing sport or getting lifts to support, that's really, we'll be enriched by that. That's really what we're set out to do.
I mean, it's probably part because you have this sort of like good grounding corporate social responsibility sort of thing, and deep connections with the community. I can see that from not just being your clients and you sponsoring the football and whatever, and the support of the station that you've given over the last good number of years, which is absolutely brilliant and vital for us. But it kind of like entrenches you within the communities, the people. Do you know what I mean? They can see just past you being a well-known company in the city.
Yeah, I guess when people think of accountant, they don't think of the fun, vibrant people that me and Andy and myself are in the team, but they think of cold hard people who just think of a pound note, not a person. And we're farther from that. It's all about giving back. Obviously we need to do things well in order to give back, but that's part of how we view ourselves as a company, and it's one of our ethics, I guess, that we try and carry forward in whatever we do.
Well, one of our core values is that we care about the community that we live and work in, and give back as much as we can, and that's one of the things that we consider when we're recruiting new people. Are they value aligned? It's really important to give back to the communities that you effectively earn a living from. It
becomes
in my
a win-win
opinion.
situation, doesn't it?
Yeah. We're straying off the topic of grassroots sports slightly, but we always try and employ local people. We try and buy locally. We try and spend. If we're going out for a business lunch or a business coffee, we'll try and use an independent rather than a national, a Costa or a Wetherspoons or whatever. Because when you spend money locally, that money gets spent locally as well, doesn't it? And we've all seen the things on social media. Spend a pound with a local business, and that pays for the child's dance lessons and etc. etc. And it's perfectly true.
Which in essence, you're facilitating through the creation and running of the foundation.
Yeah. Grassroots sport it's going to play a key part in many people's recovery from what we've been through in the last 18 months, I think. And I just hope as many clubs survive as possible, and as many individuals taking part in it are able to continue doing it or start doing it.
Well, I mean, if it's a football club, you've not only got the kit and what have you, but you've got ground rents and stuff like that, and to consider maintenance.
Yeah, all of the different affiliation, subscriptions, insurance, training. The list's endless. We do the accounts for quite a few of the well-known local grassroots sports organisations, not just football and rugby, but all sorts. And you'd be amazed at how expensive it is to run something just at a break even.
Yeah.
Never mind making a profit to try and invest in facilities for the future. And most of them are run by volunteers, and they're doing it in the spare time, through their own goodwill. If these volunteers weren't around, there'd be no grassroots sport, full stop. So they need all the support they can get, and all the thanks that we can give them as well.
Yeah, but most definitely, and you can see why you've done what you've done. To have raised that amount of money, what was it again, 12?
Yeah, I think we're still, as Andy said, we're still waiting to get the final total, but I think we raised 12, just in excess of £12,000. We've got some costs to come off that, but there should be a chunk of that to put into the foundation.
There you are. It's already reaping its dividends, and you've got the businesses contributing to it. and putting into it, they're putting something back into the community, aren't they, by involving themselves with the foundation.
Yeah, we're helping them achieve their CSR obligations as well.
Yeah, it's all good stuff.
Yeah. Final part of today's podcast. So we're going to start off with Sean's grumble of the week, and it's one hell of a grumble. And then we'll have a little chat with our very kind host Pete Mills from Hull Kingston Radio. So come on then, Sean, what's your grumble of the week?
Well, I think we're in the season of going back to school, so you probably won't be surprised to think it's about the cost of buying stuff for your kids to go back to school. I mean, there's been a lot of good stuff that's been put on by Tommy Coyle. Emma Hardy, the MP, has done a lot of good work on it. But my absolute the thing that's got me spitting mad is it's Dr. Martin boots. I've got a daughter going to college and she wants some Docs. In my day, 20 quid, yeah, all right. It's normally one by skinheads. But she's got a lovely pair. Oh, they're beautiful, and they've got roses on and things like that. It cost me 3 figures. I mean, what's going on there? I'm blaming West Ham sponsorship by Dr. Martens. I don't know if that's the case, but I know it's gone from 20 quid in my day. Obviously, that's quite a long time ago, to like nearly 3 figures now. It's unbelievable.
Well, I suppose I've got 2 questions on the back of that. When was your day? When was a pair of Doc Martens 20 quid? So I guess, are we talking about the 70s?
No, not that. 80s.
Well, they were real Doc Martens.
There was proper, yeah. There was brown. They didn't have flowers on, Pete, I'll tell you that.
Oh.
And I suppose second, not question, but observation is you didn't have to buy them, Sean.
This was done without my attendance, I think you'll find.
Right. So what happened when she showed you tell us set the scene. So she comes home, does she show you the Doc Martens?
Yeah,
is it a text?
Well, I'm not saying there was 2 of them as well, but there was accompanied by the mother. So my youngest daughter got some as well. So it's like compounded my grumble by twofold.
So come on then, set the scene. So
I just saw a box arrive. Nobody showed me what was in the box. I was aware that there was going, and I was prepared for a slightly increase on my 20 quid from 1984. But the receipt was hidden from me until one of my children accidentally dropped it on the floor and allowed me to spy the cost.
You can just imagine.
They're now washing cars, dishes, hoovering for the next 20 years in order to repay this expense.
Last that long.
I've got a mental picture of Sean diving across the living room floor, grabbing this receipt and saying, "How much?" Am I about right?
You're close. It was on my way out as I was going to watch England, so I had a few consoling pints. But it still stings, Andy. It still stings.
We'll do it that price, won't it?
I suppose this is a prime example of a product being. I don't know what word am I looking for. Where you add something to it and then charge a premium, like you have a fairy bun on its own and you'd sell it for 20p, but then you add a little bit of cream on top and call it a muffin, and you sell it for 60p, and you stick a flake in it and you call it an artisan muffin and you sell it for £1.50, don't you?
Do I feel like I've been upsold?
I don't know if upselling's the right word, but yeah, basically the flowers, etc., are the justification for the premium price tag, aren't they?
Perhaps
because there's people like you around who are prepared to pay a premium for.
I walked into that said shop not so long ago, and I was going to buy myself a pair of Doc Marten boots
with flowers on.
That's yes, yeah, as it happens, yes. Yeah, I was like, I took one look at the price. I thought, last time I bought a pair of Dr. Marten boots, they were about 50 quid. So, wasn't as long ago as you, Sean. And I looked at these, and these were like 120 quid, and I thought, I just put them down quietly and walked out the shop.
You do get like a spray with it as well to make them wearable. So, maybe it's the technology of the wearable spray has bumped up the cost, but. Yeah, that was my grumble. And I know I'm probably in a fortunate position to be paying that sort of thing, but it's just the economy of kids' clothing, school clothing. It's probably a hot topic for a lot of parents right now.
Yeah, you're paying for the brand.
Yeah.
Have you been in flannels in St Stephen's? or any flannels shop.
No. Is it the picture where if it's like it's very sparse, and if you have to ask the price, they ask you to leave? Is that how it works?
I think they do display the prices, but you can get trainers in there. We can definitely get trainers in there for £700 or £800. I won't be surprised.
What?
I won't be surprised if there's shoes in there at more than £1,000.
I mean,
I guess that just does that show how far Hull's come in the last few years, that there are people prepared to spend that amount of money in Hull City Centre. Now, I assume people are buying those products, otherwise the shop wouldn't still be there. But
yeah.
I love window shopping in flannels, but I've never seen anything cheap enough for me to.
£800 for a pair of trainers.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
Are these people sort of like?
That's making me feel slightly better now. Well, I've just played for Doc Martens, but not. It's still.
They've got more sense than money, haven't they? If they're giving £800 for a pair of trainers.
Well, they're owned by Mike Ashley now, flannels, aren't they? So I guess he's catering for all budgets, isn't he? He's obviously got Sports Direct, which is at one end of the market. He's got his sort of USC, those types of brands that are probably in the middle, and then he's got flannels for the very wealthy.
I wonder what the markup is on these £800 trainers. They're probably made in the same factory.
Yeah, they've just got a trendy badge on, haven't they? They're made by someone that's commands those sorts of prices.
Anyway, that was my grumble. That was my grumble.
Yeah, we can see that obviously affected you. Do you feel better now? Now you got it off your chest?
I won't lie, the Jammy Dodgy cake has helped.
I think your grumble's been out-grumbled by his £800 trainers.
Yeah.
So, Pete, over to you for the last slot.
Go on, then.
I guess the Hull Kingston Radio has been a real godsend to the listeners during the last 18. Is it still 18 months? I lose track. When people were forced to stay at home, and obviously a lot of lonely people around. You must have been a fantastic resource to those people that were lonely and stuck at home and didn't have anyone to talk to on a day-to-day basis.
Well, radio has always been seen as a friend to the listener, and I think during the pandemic it's proven its worth more so during the pandemic, because it's always been there for the listeners. We've had to adapt during the pandemic, definitely, because there was a stage where I physically shut the station down for two and a half, nearly 3 months, and presenters did the shows remotely from the houses. And we weren't alone in that. We actually increased our local output during the pandemic.
Hats off to you for that.
But it's a gargantuan effort to do it, and it takes a lot from. We're a volunteer-run organisation. If it weren't for the volunteers, the station wouldn't exist. We're running on a not-for-profit basis, so that makes us a very, very, very different business model from your normal limited company and what have you. Any profits we do make, because we're regulated by Ofcom, we're under their BDI, we've got to plough back into the business. And the way we tend to do that is that we do a lot of training, funded training courses that we offer for free. And these training courses, when we've run them with during the when we reopened.
Did you? Was that was
close to
fine,
that might have been 50p that was coming in.
During the pandemic, I nearly said it, didn't I? During the pandemic, we did it one-to-one remotely, where the trainer was in the studio, in the office, controlling things, and people learn that way. But it's kind of like it's allowing people to socialise, it's allowing people to communicate, and it's giving them self-confidence, self-belief. The can-do attitude is prevalent, sort of thing. Rather than not being able to feel you can succeed. This is all that the training brings, and these are people that have never, let alone been in a radio studio, been behind a microphone in their lives before. And we've trained we train people from scratch. We're not really interested in having people that have had a lot of radio experience, been on radio before, maybe had their heyday in the past, or they've been recently got rid of by the commercial radio stations and the BBC, because they're all streamlining and cutting back and networking, which means everything is centralised, so they don't need as many presenters. So we have a core of really experienced, 3 or 4 really experienced presenters that are volunteers, and then the rest of them are all new to the industry, and they're all cutting the teeth, shall we say, at this station, and quite a few of them have gone on and got themselves jobs on professional radio, or what's left of it. I mean, you know, we're one of 2 radio stations that broadcast continuously, sort of like live from the city for any length of time, for a good length of time. We do about 11 hours a day live, on average. You know, it's sad to say that both the commercial stations no longer broadcast from the city. One broadcast from Sheffield and Manchester, the other God knows where it broadcasts from. I think it's Cardiff, that well-known district of Hull. But it just shows you what radio has become, and I do think that people have come to rely on local radio. It's that synergy. It's been part of the community.
Yeah, I think that's a great word, and I think that's, for me, that's what's become, you know, prevalent from everything that's been going on. It's people's been recovering somewhat their sense of community, and I think your radio station's gone a good way to doing that. You know, some people have started speaking to the neighbours that I've never spoken to, but, you know, having that sort of community voice, you know, and as you said, like almost like a support system for people, I think it's fantastic, and that's, hopefully that stays with everybody once we get out of this.
It's about connecting with people. That's, in essence, radio. We were telling my trainees, one of the first things I tell them is about communicating and connecting with people. We've turned people's lives around at this station repeatedly since we started up. You know, they've come in here with low self-esteem, low self-confidence, the belief that they can't achieve, and we've worked with them, we've trained them, and we've turned them around, and they've, you know, proof in the pudding that we don't have an high turnover of volunteers. The majority of them are still with us. Others go bouncing out of here, getting themselves a job, re-engaging with education. You know, the love of learning is reignited within them, and off they go. And it's a lovely thing to see.
Well, hats off to you for everything that you've done. Not just in the last 18 months, but, you know, since day one, really. I think you can be really proud of what you and the team have achieved, and the number of people that you've helped, whether it be people that you're training or your listeners. So, yeah, well done.
We were here at the One Business Village now. We recently located 6 months ago. The studios look the part. Presenters enjoy the environment. It's more conducive. And, and I think the product shows on air. And, you know, on top of that, we like to work with local businesses as well, because we have pretty good advertising. It's got to get that one in. I've already get that one in.
I think you've already got it in.
Yeah, you've got to plug it, yeah.
Yeah, just shoehorned it in, as you do. We're a fraction of what the commercial... We cover the same area more or less, and then we charge a fraction of what the commercial radio stations charge. So, you know, it's win-win for businesses as well.
Okay, I think that brings the first Purple Sofa podcast to an end. I want to give a massive thanks to Sean for joining me today.
It's been a pleasure, Andy. I mean, I've had a cake. Pete's beat me in a quiz on company and corporation dates. I've got some stuff off my chest. I think it's fantastic. Can't wait for the next one, really.
And obviously a massive thank you to you, Pete, for joining us, stepping in last minute. We hope you've enjoyed the podcast. Let us know what you think. If you can think of any things you'd like us to talk about in the future, any guests you'd like us to have on the podcast, then please get in touch. Send us an email, give us a ring, DM us through social media, etc, etc. Hope you've enjoyed it, and we'll speak to you again very soon. Cheers.
Cheers, bye.
Cheers, bye.